Every year, the floods come and leave in its wake disasters of varying magnitudes across locations in the country. Do you know that there is an agency that produces annual predictions on your environment and its implications on you? The rains are here again. How prepared are you? This week, our attention is on disaster management as a nation mourns souls lost to flood in Mokwa, Niger State. My name is Leah today, and welcome to this episode of The Policy with Leah. As always, we start the business of the day from the trends table.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered the release of 2 billion naira for the reconstruction of Mokwa town and 20 trucks of assorted items to be released and distributed to the victims of the recent flood disaster. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who disclosed this when he led a federal government delegation to commiserate with the government and people of Niger State, also stated that the president has also directed the Ministries of Environment and that of Agriculture to immediately commence the reconstruction of the drainage in Mokwa town. Shettima said while the federal government has taken these steps, other arms of government should rise to the present situation, adding that they have roles to play in the governance of the state. The federal government has strengthened the collaborative initiative with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, in a partnership that aims to support Nigeria's food production systems and enhance resilience and global supply challenges. This came to the fore when the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, and the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, met with senior representative of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, to advance the implementation of the Flood Security Emergency Loan Support Program. The 15 billion Japanese yen facility, approximately $110 billion, aims to support Nigeria's food production systems and enhance resilience and ongoing global supply challenges. With the rainy season now underway, both ministers emphasized the importance of swift, coordinated action to maximize impact for farmers and rural communities. Microsoft founder Bill Gates says that most of his fortune will be spent on improving health and education services in Africa over the next 20 years, adding that by unleashing human potential through health and education, every country in Africa should be on a path to prosperity. Speaking in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, he also urged Africa's young innovators to think about how to build artificial intelligence to improve healthcare for the continent. At the Goalkeepers Nigeria event in Lagos, Gates reaffirmed that strengthening primary healthcare system remains the most effective strategy for improving health outcomes and closing the gap in global health inequality. He said despite decades of progress, most child deaths under 5 still occur in low-income countries. Children born in Africa are still 50 times more likely to die below the age of 5 than those in high-income countries. Gates announced last month that he will give away 99% of his vast fortune by 2045, which he expects to reach $200 billion when his foundation plans to end its operations. The Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) has directed deposit money banks (DMBs) to stop deducting charges from unstructured supplementary service data (USSD) transactions directly from customers' accounts. Charges will now be deducted from users' mobile airtime effective from June 3. The latest directive is seen as another move by the Commission to address the historical USSD payment conflict between mobile network operators and commercial banks. In December 2024, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the NCC directed mobile network operators and DMBs to resolve the long-standing 250 billion naira USSD debt, which eventually saw 9 banks being kicked out early this year.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency (NEMA) produces the Seasonal Climate Prediction (SCP) annually in fulfillment of its statutory responsibility to advise the government and people of Nigeria on all aspects of weather and climate. It gives the outlook of various climate variables such as rainfall and temperature patterns in Nigeria for the year. Now, early this year, the flood predictions were made in several states, warning that high-intensity rainfall is expected in May and June that may likely result in flash floods in coastal cities. Well, Mokwa happened, the floods in May, and already more than 200 persons have died. Why have we continually neglected to take precautionary measures every year or plan better with every report from NIMET? Professor Rabiu Abdussalam Magaji is a disaster management consultant and is also a risk reduction and humanitarian consultant. He joins me virtually from the Asian city of Kano to discuss these issues. It's nice to have you, Professor, this morning. Join me for this conversation.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Professor. For starters, do we as a country have a policy on flood prevention?
Well, without contradictions, I would say we don't have effective policy on disaster management, especially on flood, because the way we see things are happening, we can effectively, or we can now say that we don't have such policy on ground, because if the policy is on ground and it has been followed, then such things like this would not have happened.
Okay, Professor, what is responsible for the flood like we saw in Mokwa, and the circumstances, are they preventable?
Definitely, they are preventable, because following the tenets of disaster management phases or cycle, you will now see that if such things have been followed, then definitely we're not going to have this. We should know that disaster management or disaster risk management has about 4 phases. We have the first phase as trying to prepare, that is preparedness. Then you have mitigation, and then you have response when it becomes necessary. And then afterwards you have recovery, and then you move like that as a cycle. So if after getting the predictions from NIMET and also with the help from NISA, if the government has prepared so much well through preparing for the funds that will make awareness to the people possible, will make it possible for people to also come together to understand the problems at stake, so that at least people will now own it up to themselves, saying that we don't want to die, or we don't want to have this problem. If it comes to evacuation, you evacuate. If it becomes necessary that it must come, then the next thing will come in terms of mitigation, meaning where we are going to have much impact or negative impacts, let's see how we are going to reduce the effect. Like, for instance, now that people have died, if you have evacuated them before now, then it means that they wouldn't have gotten such problem. And many others. Then as you do that, then you also prepare for the fact that after it has happened, like now, then definitely even those that have died, and there are some other people that maybe have casualty, they have lost infrastructure, they have lost livelihood, then you need to prepare on what to do to bring them back, or to bring back their livelihood. So all these things are there. We have been preaching them, we have been saying them, but definitely the government is not taking heed. So I think that's what is happening, that these things are preventable. But at the end of the day, then you now see, because when you look into even disaster, it's a combination of the fact that you have risk, you have hazard, which is there. If you have hazard, hazard will not become disaster if it is a kind of, taken care of. If you control it, because the hazard will have to meet risk, and then vulnerability will come there, and then from there, then you are going to have, the disaster. But if you have empowered the people, meaning you have raised their capacity through awareness, through strong infrastructures, and funds, and good funding, at the end of the day, then this wouldn't have happened. So I do believe it is preventable, and then, but because of lack of preparedness, then these things will come in.
Okay, Professor Sir, these predictions, of course, we know come every year. So in the ideal sense, when this information comes, what are we supposed to do with the information, both as citizens and as government?
All right. Every year, there is what we call, the stakeholders meeting, which is usually in Abuja, comprising of all the stakeholders, starting from NEMA, NISA, NIMET, and all the state emergency management agencies, and also some other stakeholders and partners. But at the end of the day, after finishing and getting this, prediction, it is expected that each state emergency management agency will go back to its state, meet with the high-level government, inform them of the results or the prediction, and inform the government of the things that they have planned to do in terms of preparedness and or mitigation and or responses, I've said before. So if that's the case, then the government will now take that seriously to prevent the impact or negative impact of what has happened, like in Mokwa now. But usually, most of the times, you now see that those at the helm of affairs of the state emergency management agencies, some state emergency management agencies are not even effective. They do not have even the machinery to even go for the meeting. Some might not even go for the meeting. And if they go for the meeting, some do not even understand what is happening. And when they come, they don't have access to their governors at that high level in order to discuss, or maybe deputy governors or state secretaries to the government, which are in the National Disaster Management Framework. They are the ones that are heading, or that's the board for SEMA. But at the end of the day, so they don't have that capacity or that open door policy of meeting with the high government policy makers and then planning. And then when they do that, the next thing is for them to also have stakeholders meeting in the state, comprising of all that are stakeholders, meaning local emergency management committees, which in fact in many states they are not even there. Because I want to say in here, the way we have NEMA in the National Disaster Management Framework, we have NEMA at the national level, then you have state emergency management agencies, and then you're supposed to have local emergency management committees at the local government, which is supposed to be very strong, that will withstand, because disasters happen at the local level. But in most states, they don't even have. I have been a party to the organization of LEMCs in Kaduna, in Kano, in Jigawa, in Katsina, and many other states like that. But most of them, they are not even, some they do not even inaugurate them. They don't have them. So those that have them, they are not effective at all. They have not been trained. They don't even know what to do. So at the end of the day, you are calling for trouble. So this is these are the series of events that are supposed to happen after getting the information or the prediction, so that you can now prepare. The local community is well prepared for everything. But at the end of the day, you do not do that, then definitely you are calling for trouble.
Okay, is it time we begin to look towards early warning signs like we see in jurisdictions where the tsunamis are prevalent? Should we consider something like that here?
Definitely. Early warning systems are part of the preparedness. And everywhere you go, if you have, the knowledge, you understand that in terms of having good preparedness, early warning system must be there. Whether it is high-tech early warning system or traditional early warning system. But the things to do is you make sure that the early warning systems are community oriented or community friendly. The community must be part of instilling or making the early warning system work. Let them know the early warning system, because in traditional early warning system they have, like for instance, in terms of this flood, water bodies that are there, you now see local people having some woods that have been colored, which by the time the water level reaches a particular color, they will now be having a kind of a trigger in terms of preparedness, whether it is evacuation and so on and so forth, people living around the water body and everything. All these are there. So use them, inculcate them, make the people that are in the environment know. Let them handle such things that they feel that's their own. When you do that, that will work. So early warning system is necessary. You don't have good preparedness without early warning system. And now that we have a lot of technology, which of course Nigeria has, the issue of having early warning system in terms of making it to know that you can now even see how in scenarios, we call them scenarios. You can have the scenarios that the prediction has been made into scenarios whereby you can now see if this water level or if this water has come, how much will it affect? So you now play the scenario, make it possible for the policymakers to see, and then get a way of preparing for it if it has come or if it comes. So at the end of the day, definitely early warning system is key. And we must get a way of early warning system that is community oriented. It's also what we call community participating early warning system. And then it has to work, and government must, that is, the relevant agencies that are taking care of disaster management must meet with the people, integrate people into it, into committees, and make the local emergency management committees very effective. And that can work for us.
Okay, this, of course, we know is going to affect agriculture in the long run and in the near term. So why must we pay attention to the weather?
All right. Agriculture, not only agriculture, but agriculture as well, right? Because it is the rain or something that has brought out this. Definitely, if you do not prepare for early warning system preparedness, disaster management, then definitely you are not going to have good agriculture. Now that it has happened in Mokwa, after losing lives, remember that Niger State is one of the states that contributes large quota in terms of agriculture in Nigeria because of the vast land and so on and so forth. So now many crops perhaps, and they also have maybe early planting time or something like that. So if they have planted now with this flood, then definitely most of the farmlands have been destroyed. And then the water level will now be in most parts. It will stay for a longer time. So when you have some other whatever that have not been destroyed or washed away, they will also not germinate because water has flooded them and a lot of things. And also you expect also to see not only in agriculture health problems, because issues that have to do with water sanitation is also going to be a problem. There's also going to be a problem with infrastructure. There's also going to be a problem with a kind of rearing of animals. A lot of things are going to happen. So I think it's a problem that at the end of the day, when you put that together, you see that it is going to bring much problem than we have envisaged.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Professor, for making time for this conversation and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you very much. It's also my pleasure.
And we move on to simplify this, our education segment. From there, we take you to markets across the country for commodities. For more on rates from markets across the country, do well to log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the details there for you. And until we come your way again, same time next week, don't forget that we value your comments, questions, and suggestions because your feedback helps us to serve you better. And so this episode and every other one is available on YouTube on our channel. It is at Saban Media Services. Don't forget, the duty of a working Nigeria lies in the hands of all citizens, so play your part. Pay attention to your weather. Enjoy the rest of the Salah celebrations, and God bless Nigeria.